Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the TFTuesday Podcast. I am K-LIbra, and Zill is not available for this week's episode, but that's okay, because I'm not alone, and I am joined by the very illustrious Proxer. Hey, Proxer.
Hello. Thank you for having me on again. It's been a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool. I love being able to talk with you anytime, and I'm grateful that you're willing to give us a bit of more of your thoughts and everything like that, so that everybody can know what's on your mind, because shit, you have had a real... I feel like you've had a real impact on like the art scene for TF and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say that myself, but whenever I go to like cons and people like point out my name tag, I'm like, oh, I guess people do know.
Yeah, your follower count is in like the 10,000s and stuff like that, and that usually means something. I mean, Catmonk Shiro gets that kind of attention, and it's pretty wild to see. And I think it's well deserved. The other thing that is well deserved is support from our patrons, because we do this and it takes time, it takes effort, and we want to keep putting more time and effort into this. But it's also very appreciated. I can say, oh yeah, it's deserved, but it's always deeply appreciated. Any little bit that people are able to give within reason is just wonderful. And hey, growth with that means growth for the channel. I enjoy making new art and helping to make new art for this, and finding new little fun things to edit in. But that kind of plug aside, I just want to get to the meat and potatoes. So, do you like meat and potatoes, by the way?
Oh, God. I prefer more complex.
Oh, okay. All right. So, the fancy feathers are because you're stuck up. Meat and potatoes too good for you. Well, what if they were seasoned with complex flavors or something like that? Would it be okay then?
Yeah, I could see myself to clear that.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
Give me the sloppy steak.
Yeah, all right. That's good. That's good. Yeah, you're not an herbivore. Don't ever forget that. The birds, they'll eat you.
And other things too.
And other things. What kind of other things?
Bugs, invertebrates, fish, other birds.
Other birds too, yeah. It's a wild, wild world out there. But you know what? We're going to talk about another wild world, because art is kind of scary for people, and this is actually your idea. I got to give you credit for it. I want to talk about healing, artistic healing. And don't worry, if you don't consider yourself an artist or someone who draws, don't worry, it will apply to you. And the thing that both of us have in common, and frankly every artist does,
Going around.
struggle. Yep, is the struggles with art. But we're going to talk about the TF art stuff, because I feel like the fandom around TF art, transformation arts, has a very distinct effect on the people who want to contribute their time and efforts. So I wanted to start by asking, because a lot of people do start with this question, is how did you start, but specifically the barriers? What kind of barriers did you perceive when you wanted to start making it?
Are we talking about currently, or way back when?
Back when, because I think that's part of the struggle, is starting.
Well, personally, back when, I just got started because I was horny and cheap.
Man, you and I have a lot in common. I'm actually really shocked about the things we have in common.
Just thinking oh yeah, all these people that I like what they do, and I can't get in contact with them. I don't have the money to interact with them, but I want this weird horny shit that doesn't exist anywhere but my brain. So really just do it badly at first.
So it wasn't really anything beyond that. Did you feel anything else, or any other things that you were just oh man, I don't know if I could do it because I don't have this, or I don't know this?
God, thinking back my mid-teens, so much of it was really just horny inspired, because I wasn't thinking about the barriers so much at the time, because the power of boners was strong.
Okay. That's really funny because I think that what happens with a lot of people isn't necessarily that it isn't necessarily that they feel motivated. I think a lot of people get demotivated. It's very common for people to come out and say, "Oh, I wish I could do that," but I mean, neither of us started with being able to just do it. We wanted to endeavor because, as you said, the thing only exists in our head. I don't think we're going to be able to get anybody else to do it, and there's no way banking on hope to see other people do it, especially the way we want it.
Well, just endeavoring, but at the time to begin, it was more indulging than it was endeavoring.
Ah.
Because I still have those sketches somewhere. They're fucking terrible. They're basically the equivalent of margin doodles, but like on actual 8.5 by 11 pages. There is no sense of real anatomy there. It's just like, here's a bunch of horny ideas, I thought. So it was raw, I would say. Like there was no ego or super ego attached to it. It was just trying to chase one specific feeling.
Okay. I like that because it makes the experience very pure, and that actually starts. I think that's a good way to start because it makes for a healthy start. The thing to realize, and that gets overlooked, is when you're trying to make art, you're not trying to necessarily make something good, because something good really is about impressing other people. Is impressing other people the thing you really want? Or do you want to see something? Like, whatever the aim is. And for you, you were just like wanting to indulge something that's in a very particular way. But I find that when people bring this sort of stuff up, it ends up being a matter of, oh, I don't know how to do this. I don't know this anatomy. I would have to study this. I never went to school. That happens
I can't draw a stick
so
figure.
much. Yeah, exactly. Well, you fucking can. How good do you think a stick figure has to look?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to learn to draw is to learn to see, really. And really, you can just stack one thing on top of another. Like a couple days ago, I was helping a friend out just with trying to tell her how I end up mentally stacking the thing. Start with drawing circles. If you can get a circle, you can do an ellipse. If you can do an ellipse, you can do an ellipse in space. You can visualize a sphere. Then you can add various landmarks, the shapes of the trapezius, the collarbone, the what have you, and people looking at the whole thing way too seriously as opposed to step by step.
Yes. It can be very overwhelming to not understand how to break things down. You get lost in the weeds of details. There's a lot of people who want details. I feel like a lot of people don't really know what they're saying sometimes when they mention details, because I've put out some things where I kept it real simple, and people were like, oh, the details, and it's not really that I put a lot of little things for people to see, it's what I want people to see. I guess in that way your mind can fill the blanks in, and that's the magic of a style and what you can do with art, the flexibility of being able to make an image. But yeah, it can feel like, oh, you have to keep track of a million things, and you really don't. And also, it's about what you want to put in. If you do want to painstakingly draw every scale because that's the way you think it needs to be done and you'll be satisfied at the end, then there you go. That's what you got to do. Will it take a lot of time? Yeah. But if you won't regret taking the time to do it, then that's the way it needs to be done. And also, if you think that there's a lot of things to keep track of, remember, everybody starts off with a lot of basic stuff. And as you said, it's a lot of seeing. Observation. If you look up things about art fundamentals, it's building observational skills. And then after that, you kind of interpret what you see. And, then you make little rules in your head and things work differently.
It stacks up into a visual library.
Exactly. And that's one of the ways that you improve with art, because you can more readily reference, almost like a reflex, what something is supposed to be. And I am pretty sure that one of the reasons that making transformation art is so daunting is because suddenly you have to keep in mind drawing human anatomy, which some people are fearful about approaching, and then you have to learn an animal, or maybe an animal that you're not interested in, which also that's also not really something that you should worry about. But yeah, it's stuff like that. It's like that kind of starting barrier thing, and I had a little bit of that when I was starting, but obviously I wanted to see the thing a little more than that.
But at the same time, back starting out again, I realized that I was also drawing for the horny, then came the, well, now I want to draw something specific, but I'm also bad. Well, TF often obscures the rules between Form A and Form B, so you don't see, well, this human's not drawn right. It's, oh, this is supposed to be weird because it's in the middle of something.
Yeah.
There's a lot more mental leeway in my own head starting out with transformation because there was more mental allowance for weirdness.
Yep. And that is something that I think people can also hold on to if they want to start. If you think there's a barrier to anatomy and rules to follow, yes. However, it is going to be about how do you want to play with it? What do you want to exaggerate? How do you want to express it? What things do you want to show and other things not? That's really what kind of also makes for a style when it comes to people in this fandom, when it comes to the group of artists that contribute to it, is how they like to show things off. It's, the preferences between like when you're doing snakes, because it's that time of year, everybody. Do you want the legs to merge? Okay. Do you want the tail to grow out from the spine or whatever? Sure. Do you
legs to kind of wither away?
Yeah, how do you want to do it? And that's up to you. That's up to you.
And if you're bad at drawing feet, hey, that's why snakes are great.
Yeah, but also if you're bad at drawing feet, learn to draw feet anyway. It's better if you learn to draw and do the things.
Look, drawing bird feet was fucking hard. That's why I learned to draw hooves first.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, they're like little blocks you can use,
Simple little clumpy clump shapes, and not. Have you tried to draw like a heron's foot? It's fucking crazy. The toes go everywhere. I
don't know. I kind of like it because I like expressive hands and everything, and I feel like talons are just an extra way of like expression.
It's not just talons; it's just the gangly, thin toes, and the birds themselves don't really know what they're even doing with them.
Yeah, but I don't know. I like that stuff. There's a number of things that I like. I like the long and slender stuff, so talons appeal to me in that respect. They can also be drawn like armored as fuck, though.
Oh god,
such wonderful variety with that. I do love it. So yeah, it's it can feel daunting to start out, but it's it's there to be enjoyed. You're there to put what you want in front of you, and depending on what you realize you want to do or how well you want it to go, then yeah, you start learning and you give yourself some direction, or you have other people help you out, mix of all that stuff. You do what you can, really. But art, creating anything, largely is about you. Art is a selfish thing. Even if you want to please people, you're going to do it how you think it ought to be done. It is a selfish thing. And that doesn't make it a bad thing either, because I notice that there's a lot of people who end up wanting to just stop doing it because it stops being about what they want. And that being said, and I know we've talked about this in like general, but I want to talk about it more targeted toward you and I, which is, is there anything that you can remember holding you back from making more, or making you just want to quit doing transformation stuff in general altogether?
Oh god, so much that comes from envy and jealousy. If you start doing something and then someone else that starts doing it at the same time but better and faster, then that kind of thing can just be really demoralizing sometimes. Like when getting into comics, and a friend of mine at the time decided, oh, that's also a good idea. But he was less plagued with anxieties and such, so it felt easy for him, and then I was getting kind of resentful and bleh. Well, he could do it. His best is or his worst is my best.
Yeah,
it's falling into your own mental roadblocks, really.
Yeah, it's the flavor of roadblock that really matters, because there are plenty, but there are some that persist more, and that's kind of why I'm also trying to single them out and label them more appropriately, because anybody can have a bad day and just not be able to do a lot of things, even things that they are generally good at or even great at. It just fucking happens. But yeah, I like that you brought up the envy. Definitely happened to me. I wanted to stand out. I wanted to do things at least in ways that I didn't perceive people doing. And then, I see somebody else doing something that I thought took less effort, or maybe they're just better at it. They did the thing better than me. I'm like, oh, I'm never going to get there. And it's poison.
Well, to stand out is either novelty or persistence. And I feel I had the latter. Because none of my stuff going on for the first decade was it really that great. But I think that I stuck around long enough that people were able to see improvements or becoming my own artist.
Yeah. And it's frustrating also because there is a danger to something like envy that gets overlooked, which is if there's something you want to do and a way you want to do it, and you start putting your standards on other people, do you really want to emulate what they're doing, or do you just wish that people would tell you the nice things that they get told? Because let's be really honest with ourselves. I think it's always good to be pleased with what you make because you made it, and just be satisfied with the process and whatever you feel is like the finished idea. But it feels really good when people tell you nice things about it. It feels really good when you have people react to it positively, or at least have like a big reaction, like, whoa, this is cool, It feels good. It is a part of art, because a large part of it, I have come to believe, is about connecting, communication. But it's just porn. Yeah, that's communicating, asshole.
Yeah, but to get those external validations is great, but like if you start to rely on it exclusively, then you've given other people the power to withhold it over you, and if you don't get it, then you've lost your drive.
Yes. The external validation is supposed to be a bonus, not the sustenance. You don't really get as far as you think you do by doing the things that other people want you to. You lose your identity that way, and you can make a ID death joke, but I shut up. It's bad.
Yeah, I mean, no art happens in a vacuum, but
yeah,
it's good to do it for you, and other people will hopefully want you to do it for you because they like what you do for you.
Yeah.
And then they want you to do what you do for them, maybe.
Maybe. That is also another fine balance to understand about oneself. If you want to be liked for you, and it feels bad that people don't seem to like it, then you will take it personally. And that happened to me. I don't know if it happened to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you feel like something isn't quite working, but this is what I poured myself into. I tried really hard. They like this other thing that I did for someone else, and if that doesn't get identified and dealt with decently, then that also can overrun you and change your entire relationship with art, especially with TF stuff, because that stuff has so many people who want to see things so badly, especially if they don't make it themselves. They want to see it so badly.
Things get very specific.
Can you do this thing, but with these particular aspects involved in it, please?
Bigger.
Please? Bigger, smaller, a different shape. Can you add this color? And it's fucked up because I remember somebody who actually left a comment saying how much they like this thing that I made. However, they would like it to not have a dick, and they were asking me if I would make a version with it, edit it out, and I'm like, no. And also, this was a commission piece, so no. Are you gonna pay me for this edit? Get the fuck out of here.
Well, it's a great little tip for them. Just hold your thumb out right there, and just cover up the part you don't like.
Ah, yeah. Everybody has Photoshop. Yeah.
This one's free though. This is the free
Oh
option.
hey, Photoshop can be free too, huh?
It's not worth it.
Or it kind of isn't. Photoshop is such a pain in the ass. Quick tangent. If you're intimidated by art as a barrier, and I should have brought this up because you think you need specific tools or something like that, and you think, oh, the art programs and stuff like that, don't worry. You don't have to like default to Photoshop. The thing about Photoshop that I didn't understand and that a lot of people I think didn't understand was it's not great for painting and drawing. It's for photos, but it has so many options and things that values and everything that you can manipulate that you can make it into an incredible art program, but it takes a lot to do.
Inherent lack of brush smoothing.
And blending and and decent tools that can make you feel like you got a pen or a pencil going. God, man, it's real bad.
Like I was using Open Canvas for like so long, and then I moved over to Psy, and then finally like, all that free shit, and then I'll eventually got over to CSP.
Yeah, and man, I'm so glad that I got to actually start using an art program. You can tell. Don't worry, if you got questions about art programs, there are so many. People do so much with so many different tool sets. It's all about comfort.
I mean, but Microsoft Paint, I think, has layers now.
Yeah, I think I can also equate that to like what's holding us back is also the stuff like our tools. Sometimes I felt like, oh, my tablet isn't good enough, and I have had to upgrade over the years, but you can feel like you're always missing something. I don't know about you.
Oh, for sure. I'm trying to learn some more digital painting not too long ago, and was following a friend's advice because they're better at like value studies and color studies like that. But watching them paint, they use a different program, like Creator or something. But I just could not find a brush that made me feel comfortable to give me the stroke that I wanted, the texture, the blending. But there's other times like that was discouraging just because I couldn't make the paint move like I wanted to. But even last week, was looking through, I think it was Ghost Keys art, and just looking through the rough sketches, and I just something in my brain just latched on to the pencil tool that they use to draw with, and it's like that gives a really nice mark. And yeah, I enjoyed the art too, but I ended up fixating on the actual brush, and then used that, just basically went and recreated it based on how I thought I saw it, and just used that momentum to help carry me into tidying up a couple of my own sketches with that brush that gave a different look and felt interesting to use. It's that finding love in the process.
Yes. Oh, I love
pen. It hits just right.
Like, oh man, look at that. When I do this with that, like, oh, look at that. It makes that effect just wonderful. Does it make the tautness of like changing skin feel a certain way? Does it make hair or feathers look good? Does it make the little shiny bits that maybe you want to make shiny just right? All that shit. Love that. But yeah, there's a lot of things that have come along and just felt like something that would drag us down or make us want to quit. I know that like there were times where I wanted to quit because like I have actually gotten some fucked up comments, which again I've also talked about throughout the show. But like specifically, I've gotten feedback that has straight up made me feel like I don't even know why I want to keep doing this. I don't know why are people like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but most of mine isn't so much external validation or negative feedback. I feel like I've been exceptionally lucky when it comes to not being harassed or otherwise bothered. There's been a couple assholes here and there, but not so much that made me like question my choices. Most of it was just external, of just like, where am I going with this? Where I lost sight of my goal.
Yeah, I can see that too. Because then the question becomes, oh, what else do you want to do? Is there a direction you even want to go? There doesn't have to be, but, ambitions can stir when you're starting to create anything. And that means something. And sometimes not trying to get to those things will start to make you feel like there's no point, there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do, there's no focus, there's too much you don't know, so on and so forth. It just stacks up.
Or too much outside going on that makes you feel overwhelmed. And if you feel under threat or urgent outside, then it'll make the indulgence of any kind of creative work feel impossible, because the rest of your brain is always thinking outside and it can't focus on planting those little seeds of enjoying that brush texture that we mentioned.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And one of the things that actually made me envious of people at times was when they would say something like, "Oh, I was really stressed or feeling like shit, so I made this," and I'm like, "Man, that's really good. Why can't I make shit when I feel like total garbage and I feel like I don't know what to do with my life?"
Yeah, it's such a fine mental balance of being able to channel strong negative emotions while not letting them overwhelm your creative senses.
Yeah. I think again, you can sort of blame this on like general perceptions of artists, and one of them being like this idea that they can just create. Creative people just do it. There's no effort, there's no thought. But even if you get to that point, you have to kind of get there, and once you get there, you got to maintain it. Because your relationship with art can change very easily now, because part of making art now for anybody with enough technology is showing it to other people. It's very easy to show people on the internet. And that can be pretty fucking toxic too. So like, yeah, I mean, keeping all this stuff in mind, I think we can actually go for like hours on this sort of thing, because I think between the both of us, we have like 50 years worth of thoughts on what it is that's like tried to drag us down or made us want to quit.
Was like back in 2006 it was founded.
Well, I mean, like, we think a lot, just like expressing it and breaking it down, I think is what I'm saying. Like, we can just take a long time to do.
Oh yeah, think and overthink.
Yes, especially the overthinking. The overthinking is what balloons it to about 5 decades worth of thoughts. Yeah. Look, if anybody else wants to hear about this, you can just you can leave comments about it and everything like that. I am happy to talk more about this sort of thing with people most days. And yeah, look, it's not like a separate species of human being an artist or getting creative or starting something. It's absolutely something you could do. But that being said, we're still doing it. So what's helped us persevere? What has been keeping you going then?
Oh, so much. So I forget if I mentioned this last time I was on last year, but whenever I've hit these negative strides of just feeling worthless, or that I'm not up to my own standards, my own expectations, I was just looking through E621 one time, and like I think someone mentioned like Dr. Comet or Carabiner, stuff like that. People that I used to look up to going, like when I was first starting out, like a couple Japanese artists that like I remember first seeing and just blowing my freaking little mind, and then seeing it now with, I guess, matured artistic eye and being like, yeah, that's still really good. I could do that.
Yeah.
And then thinking like, oh, some people think that of me all through the looking glass. And so to have that knowledge in mind of that someone can respect you even if you're not all the way in on yourself.
Yes.
That definitely helps with some of the motivation up to realize that you have what you once wanted.
And that it's a big fucking deal that you also will have an effect on people when you're sharing these things. Even if you don't know about it, which admittedly really can wear me down some days, is because why can't you just say something? But really, like, I don't get to communicate these things to a lot of people who have made some of the stuff that I love and have helped shape me. But it's true. If you could look at it through that lens, because the things that get made are made by people, and that still matters. So just remember, like, if there's something that you love, a series, a franchise, even like products or a toy or something, like somebody made that was great for you. That was a little piece of somebody's expression, their ideas, and they'll never really know how it made you feel or how it affected you. But if you think about that and just turn it back on yourself, then you can realize that it's a really nice bonus to the creative process, especially if you started sharing your stuff anywhere.
Mm-hmm. And I find that when giving someone very, very specific compliments, I think that it goes a long way to like, oh, this person really looked at the work that was done. Like, we were all guilty of this. We'll look through like our FA galleries, we'll scroll through Blue Sky, whatever. We'll see an art piece, we'll look at it for about 4 seconds, and then we'll move on. But that's the unfortunate nature of the beast. People will spend hours on making something beautiful and not have the eye time. So to say that oh, I like this one specific detail that people probably don't give a shit about as they're actually looking at it, but it helps to bolster the feeling that it's actually being examined, that the time and detail that they thought no one else would see is seen.
Yes, being truly appreciated, enjoyed, rather than being consumed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh God, going back a step, the feeling of wanting to quit, so much of that was going around the feeling of being disposable.
Ah. Yeah, that's right. That is right. Go on. Like, elaborate if you'd like to.
So whenever I was trying to find a job in like some kind of artistic industry of some kind, and just feeling like so much of what you do is not valued, and I would bounce back and forth between these ideas, either feeling like it would give me more credibility or more, I guess, authenticity of a real artist, but then seeing so many folk who, yeah, while their work is disposable, oftentimes it feels like they are too. And if you've kept up with any kind of news with the video game industry of the past 5 years especially, so many artists or creatives or developers or game programmers especially, they're just left to the wind or the first to go.
Mm-hmm. Especially now, lately, after major successes, it seems to be a really fucked up practice where people now will be fired after making some kind of blockbuster. Yeah. It's insane.
Success does not guarantee anything right now. And so that kind of thing gets extremely disheartening to like, well, what am I continuing for if this broad scale, if this previous vision of what success looked like is now cannibalizing itself, where there is no level of success high enough that will protect one from being disposable.
Mm-hmm. And I think it gets more dangerous if you have it, if it's not meant to be a job. Okay, if you're not going to go into any kind of industry, if you're not going to be making signs or fonts or, transformation art, if you're not going to be making something out of it, a structured living, then the abstraction of what success is can become impossible. And maybe you think it's rational, but really it's not, and you're always going to goalpost yourself into failing, you know? Your successes will feel good and then become nothing very quickly, and then before you know it, you won't want to deal with it. Oh, why make this stuff?
It has to come from inside.
Yeah, but you know what? The good news is that as long as you want to keep making it, and if you even feel like sharing it, that's another thing. Actually, I gotta stress, one thing that's helped me keep making the work is realizing I don't have to post shit. I can share it among a few people. I can leave it lost on a layer on a file. It doesn't matter. I feel better having made something than not. I do enjoy actually the sheer act of adding something to my gallery. I'll say that. Numbers aside, faves aside, comments, all that shit. I like just being able to add something to say like, look, one more for the stack. I like that I made the stack one more bigger. That feels nice.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I spent most of the year just kind of posting very, very little because I got into this thought that I wanted to only post the finished illustrations. And so I'd kind of build up some doodles in the background, hopefully, and there was a bunch of dry spells as well. But now I'm just like, I should post just to fill things out, just to do the cave drawing of I was here.
Yeah, I can see that. You just kind of want to see things move along, because sometimes I'll look at something that I last posted and I thought, man, I want to show something else. I just want to see that move over just one slot. It's part of really what helps me going. One of the many little things. Other things kind of go into things that I feel I've been lucky with, which is knowing people who would be able to motivate me, make me feel valued as a person beyond the arts. And I happen to know some really skilled artists, and like, hey, now I talk to Proxer, which is kind of like, wow, why do you? I've already told this to you, but it's like, why the fuck do you want to talk to me? That's cool. That's really cool that you would want to. Yeah, because that's how it feels. But those little things can help when you start to just take in those things and actually believe them. There are a lot of little blocks and tricks that our minds will play on us, where you think somebody will be saying nice to you simply because they pity you, or they're just trying to be nice. They don't really mean it. But come on, man, don't be like that to people. And also, hell, if they mean it, don't insult them by slapping it away. Take it in. Feel good about it, that those other people feel that way, because odds are other people feel that way too, and that feels good, right? Like, actually internalize it. That can help you keep going too. When people, because what is a compliment worth if you don't internalize it?
Yes, God, so that's something that I still have trouble with, and most other artists I know have trouble with too. It's like, not, I can't think of another way to rephrase this, as far as just like not taking it seriously, like not knowing why people like you, because you are there for every step. And that's where the messy shit happens.
But some of that messy shit is awesome, I gotta say. I mean that literally and figuratively. The most wonderful stuff can be found within the chaos, and sometimes the chaos itself is just exactly what I want. And it comes in the expression, and it comes in buckets sometimes. Haha. So yeah, in terms of perseverance, if you feel like a little lost about what either of us were saying, it comes down to really enjoying the process, internalizing the good things that people tell you, and just allowing yourself to not feel like you're pressured into needing to meet some kind of measure for success. Because, again, especially if you're not trying to make a dollar value out of it, you are not going to be kind to yourself. Whatever you think you need to meet, you're never really going to feel like you hit it. And then when you do, oh no, you have nowhere to go. Yeah, just don't sabotage yourself like that.
And if I can plug a book that really helped me out, there's a book called Art and Fear: Observations on the Perils and Rewards of Art Making by David Bales and Ted Orland. And it's a simple book. It's like maybe 100 pages long, pretty small, you can fit it in your pocket. But it's chock full of, like it says, small observations about art making. And it's not just drawing, it's any kind of stuff, doing writing, pottery, dance, any form of self-expression. And so many of the things mentioned in there are so ubiquitous for all forms of expression, and such as attaching ourselves way too closely to the art we make, and so that if we feel that we're not making, then we don't exist.
Yes, that's right. Oh, yeah. What am I if I'm not creating, if I'm not posting something, if I'm not, getting a commission or something like that?
Or that if we're learning, say, in school, and we have assignments given out to us, we have our structure, expectations, all of that is clear, and then suddenly the most dangerous thing we can face is graduation, where suddenly those are not just fed to us, where we have to suddenly come up with what our own art means to us, what directions things become obtuse, and that can be a shock to the system of that can cause a lot of artists just to quit because they don't have a goal or a structure.
Yes.
Or more so, people validating them with some kind of letter grade.
Yeah, you know exactly how well you're doing. You have a clear threshold for success and failure. You understand this, and you are made to know exactly what the benefits are or the consequences. with these structures. And it's really hard to make that for yourself because there's a wide world of everything, and like, where do you start? That's like that's why it's there's that phrase, the tyranny of choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that is and it can be very scary, but if you can kind of zone in on like what your needs are and what your wants are, and kind of prioritize them, you can find your way. It comes with talking to people. You don't always have to do it on your own. But you know what? This is actually a great segue, that book you mentioned, which is Healing the Art Relationship, because the thing that we have talked about, again, with TF artists leaving the community, we actually have had some just return. Sometimes they just come back and they start making stuff again for however long. Well, I mean, it hasn't happened in a little while. I remember that Irreversible started posting some stuff like a couple of years ago. Irreversible has gone quiet again for, whatever reasons. I don't know what's going on. And really, I don't have to know.
Not for us to know.
Nobody does. Exactly. Just hope the motherfucker's doing all right. And, at least still making art and other things to satisfaction.
They've posted a couple things recently, I thought.
Not on FA. But examples like that. I remember there were times where like Ranzab would post out of nowhere, or like God, do you know or remember the artist Centaur? That's like SENT and the letter R, Centaur.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Oh man, that's some good shit. There was like a 10-year gap of showing anything, and I check, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a new thing, and it's really fucking good. I'll show it to you later.
Please.
But yeah, there are some artists that just come back. Actually, who came? Oh man, I think I told this to Comic, and then you and Comic are friends, if you don't mind me saying. Yeah. So like I remember when Comic again was like on a hiatus, and she came back with this page that stays with me, where it's just like a representation of herself at the time, coming through the door with like wind and snow, and it's just like, I have returned. And sometimes I feel like, there's like those journeys of things like, but you come back and there's something different about you, but it's here now. It's not always clear cut that people just want to quit. But also, there are the ones that do come back, and they can come back in a really interesting way, too. And that means healing the relationship with art. And if this seems a little too broad for you, again, remember, the TF fandom, the community, the consumption of the stuff has a particular effect on people. Because I feel like the only analog I can think of is like certain other fandoms that allow self-insertion more easily, or at least have like that kind of zeitgeist going around it. Furries are the best example I can think of, and furries encapsulate like a lot of other little things where people could just put themselves in. It becomes like a perceived need. So what I'm getting at is, if you're making stuff and you want to make stuff like in these veins, especially transformation, healing your relationship with it might be important for you. You might want to start doing it again because it means something big to you. For a lot of people, this is huge on like identity itself. So yeah, and you mentioned the book that the book that you plugged, which I read a few pages of it. It's great. It's short. Everybody should read more. I'm trying to read more.
And take a highlighter when you do, because I have got so many passages just highlighted in that of just stuff that hit me really hard in the chest. Like, this felt like it was something so specific that was akin only to me, and then to hear someone else speak my words to me again in a book felt like, oh, this is more than, this is everyone.
Yeah, it was somebody that that you never met before, you're never going to meet, never otherwise known existed or done anything. And it's just like, holy shit, how did that resonate so closely? So, like, eerily closely. Are you inside my head?
But at the same time, after I came back to the same book, like a couple years later, after I was dealing with a different set of problems, different set of mental worries, I would read through the same passages I highlighted and be like, that's still true. But then I'd hit a different passage that now hit me when before it didn't.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? it's a very common experience. A lot of us, everybody, in whatever disciplines we're doing, will keep it focused to art. But I am trying to make sure that people understand that you can apply this to anything. That this stuff it has a very similar journey with everybody. This is why it sucks to also feel alone, and like healing with the art. Like, I don't know, where did you decide to start doing it? Was it like something that you read? Was it something that somebody told you? Like, where did you feel like you could start to heal from some of the stuff that was hurting you or keeping you back?
A lot of this was just going back to so much of the outside world being oppressive or scary, or I was dealing with a whole bunch of anxiety and depression at the time. Like, the past year has been trying to mentally recover from just bad time. And so much of that was, again, taking up my own creative space in my head of just like feeling like I couldn't conceptualize actually thinking creatively. I would still do the occasional thumbnails or rough sketch here and there, and sometimes I'd have a good week of where all of the anxious or depressive thoughts wouldn't get to me first, and I was able to actually plant and kindle those ideas of the stuff that I want to do. And that definitely gives some momentum, but once that was starting to get more under control, and I guess some of the fear versus creativity were properly balanced, then I was able to like examine them without feeling like I was under threat. That's when you can actually maybe, like I mentioned before, enjoying the small things, noticing the small things. Because when you are anxious or depressed, you're reactionary. Your thoughts are external. You're not thinking about the tertiary processes.
Right. Yeah.
It's turning things back to manual from automatic.
And turning some things back to automatic, because I forget who it was. And it's on YouTube, and it's got like a fuck ton of views, and it's like one of those videos where they use like creative little word graphics to like follow along with what's being said.
Oh yeah.
And it was, and the one thing I remember from it, and it's a lot of stuff that I think resonates with most people, but it was something like, when you first start out, your taste is killer. Like, you love your ideas, you love everything you want to make, stuff like that. And yeah, I think about that, and that used to just come naturally, but that got suppressed because we got some learned behaviors, and we got some expectations that suddenly we just started to impose on ourselves, or sometimes it's both, sometimes it's external and internal, and that can be really, really difficult to get through. But you can get back in touch with that, and you can make that part of your automatic stuff. And if you want to talk about TF and stuff like that, part of it for me, and let's see if anybody else resonates with this. There's a curiosity that I have. Like, I could put whatever horny thoughts into it, but there is a real curiosity about how would it look for something to convert into this? How do I want to do it? How do I want to see it? What's the way that I think it looks good while also looking like something that is like really like I don't know, it just kind of pops. Like, I want people to be able to look at it and be like, oh shit, and wherever that feeling goes, it goes. Like, that is
an intensity,
that is,
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had like better words. I don't want to keep using visceral, because that implies one thing, and intensity is a little too broad. But yeah, evocative is a good one. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's just the kind of thing that genuinely drives me. That kind of thing should be. I want it to be automatic. So I want to get back in touch with that. Switch these things to manual, switch these things to automatic. You flip the little switches. You could do it. You do have access to the panel, even though there may be like some kind of raving lunatic there that you kind of like ignored for a while. But you could just kind of come in with a blanket and and hot cocoa, and just be like, come on, let's have a conversation. We'll work shit out. And you can get to the panel and fuck with it and clean it out. You can do it. You can get some help doing it too sometimes.
Oh yeah, mental health professionals will help immensely. I've been working with one for basically a year now, and they've been very helpful. You mentioned the the crazy person in your brain who's fussing over the controls. Something else I observed was that anxiety and excitement share the same mental channels. So
yes.
if you are worried about something, you're having that strong expectation of it, and chasing that imagination of what it is, which is functionally the exact same as excitement. It's just the positive and negative version of them. So if you're feeling one, that will override the feeling of the other. So that really depends on which one you can try to foster first, of the fascination, the interest, the granular details will help you foster that excitement. And if they're the same thing, taking up the mental space of the opposite, of that anxiety of the external situations bringing themselves into that creative space and blocking it out, then I lose my train of thought.
It's okay. I'll pick up some of what you put down, though, and that would be that, yeah, it helps to understand what exactly you're feeling. Anxious and excitement being very similar. Are you scared of something, or are you just really wanting to do it right now? And just being able to have enough self-awareness to kind of understand what the feeling is very helpful. And it's very good, because if you're going to be using it for art or something like that, yeah, you can kind of just let things happen again for the most part. Or if you feel like it's something that you really got to put some thought and planning into, you can do that too. Just take back a little bit of control, because it's one way to start. Like, one of the things that I started to do was to let my quality slip, so to speak. Let me put it to you this way. The expectation of art on the internet, popular art, is that it looks clean, that it has lines, and that it has colors. That is what I notice gets a lot of positive attention very easily. And especially with transformation stuff, sequences and comic pages that are sequences, that shit is demanding. So if I have this idea in me that I have to, oh no, I mean, I could be doing sequences. I guess I could do more sequences. People like those. Oh man, I could be doing this, but I'm only showing one part of this. It's kind of obscure. It's not really enough. It's enough. Everything is enough. Are you satisfied with how the sketch came out and you want to share it? Sure. That's what I'm going to do. Do I think that maybe I want to turn this one thing into a sequence? I can do that too. I can do whatever I want. I can come back to it. I'm really trying to make sure that nowadays I just stick to that kind of standard. The whatever I want to do, however long it takes. And, that was one of the ways I also started. And the other thing that I also started to do recently was, speaking of books, was The Artist's Way. Oh. And, yeah, I spoke with Proxer a little bit about this, and yeah, that's another book that hit certain spots. I feel like just reading that book, straight up reading that book and recording it for people to listen to, because I'm sure there's readings of it, but I want to do it because I want to read the book. But it's great. Actually, wait, there's another thing. There's a bit of advice that I picked up online, was that if you really want to improve with your art, read art books. And I'm you know what? There's a point in that. Because even if you read that and you're I don't agree with this, suddenly you'll realize, maybe you agree with something else. That's direction. That's healing. That's part of the healing, when you don't feel lost with something.
It's deliberate decisions.
Yes.
Of whatever that happens to mean to you.
Yeah, and I don't know. Do you agree that if you can start making a decision, doesn't that kind of make you feel like finally you got some fucking control again?
Absolutely. Most of 2024 was pretty directionless, because I was just trying to get myself mentally back together. And then after I had a really nice couple visits to some friends, I found myself with that motivation but no direction. And so I was well, I need to capitalize on this. I need to pick something. at the time, my G2 was about to expire, so I was like, well, I should probably try to get my G test before it fully expires. And
for the people who aren't aware, that's Canadian for driver's license, okay?
Yeah, it's my driver's license learning permit.
Yeah.
The G2 followed by the G, which is the full license.
Man, I fucking stupid Canadian license. Go.
I'd basically sat on my learner's permit for so long because I was anxious about starting it and driving in general, being on the road with other lunatics. Pretty much spent November just like, I'm gonna get this. I've got the momentum. I gotta put it somewhere. This is a clear midterm goal with a clear binary pass-fail solution of if I achieved it or not. How can I reach it? I ended up getting a driving instructor, doing a bunch of road work, slowly building up confidence as far as left turn, right turn, all the stuff that a lot of people find rudimentary or basic, or stuff that most people get in their late teens. I just never had the need to do it.
Yeah.
As well as having the anxious personality. And then I got all the stuff. I was feeling good. I was feeling better on the highway. I could do the parking. Feeling capable and midway confident. And I do the final test, and I fucking beef it.
Fuck yeah.
And I was like, well, fuck. I prepared so hard for this. I did all this. I feel so much better. I spent the money. I feel capable and confident. I made one small mistake. And now I've got to start over because my thing expired. And so, like, well, fuck, they're not going to take this away from me now. I put all this work in. And so then spent basically the next month just fast-tracking it as much as I could. And, like, 2 weeks ago, I finally got my test and passed that. And now I've got to think of the next midterm goal to do.
Yeah. And if anybody is wondering what is the points of that entire story, which you should be entertained, goddammit. This is somebody who's trying their best, okay? When you start to take care of other aspects of your life, you can start to actually clear the cobwebs for actually doing things that you love. So if you can do that, if you do at least some of that stuff, you can actually start to heal your relationship with art too.
The worst thing you can do to yourself is set impossible goals and only have impossible goals. We as organic beings need to have something that we feel that we can accomplish. And if so, like, that's part of the problem of why I crashed out in 2024 was because so many of those goals felt impossible. I didn't have anything where I felt like I could work towards it. And then to actually have some stuff where things were feeling attainable again, that's like, well, what's the next thing that can be done?
Mm-hmm.
It gives you hope in yourself.
Yes, exactly. And if you have some of that, you can start putting it into the little things. You know, your little hope economy starts to thrive, you know? We could use some thriving hope economies. Let's do that. Let's get hope economies. Speaking of which, how do you maintain your hope economy? What kind of stuff do you do lately to keep the healing going? Do you still read that book? Do you do like a couple of other things? Like, what have you been trying?
Oh, yeah, that book is on my nightstand pretty much forever. I haven't done it in the past month or so, but when I was trying to build that momentum back up after the New Year's, yeah, I would pretty much try to, like, center my head around any kind of art just by reading a chapter of that out loud and then drawing circles. And then drawing circles and drawing circles and drawing circles and then drawing ellipses. And then drawing lines, then getting bored with those. Be like, well, I'm here, I may as well do some other figure form idea. Just letting it take its time to grow in its own path and then take off that momentum. And additionally, having a timer that doesn't, like, it's not a timer that you would, like, say, I'm going to work for an hour. It's a timer that tracks how long you've been drawing so that you can possibly get lost in what you're doing, and then you look up and, oh, that timer that was keeping track of all my active progress in the drawing program let you know how much cumulative stuff you've done, which,
yeah,
I don't know, like posting small sketches to your gallery. It's just like, I want my cumulative body of work to be
That makes sense to me. And by the way, if anybody thinks, oh, this is what I have to do, it doesn't sound fun, you don't have to do it. There's a bunch of ways to do this kind of stuff. The one thing I will say I appreciate about something like that is if you do something that is boring and then you suddenly feel motivated to do something that you think isn't boring, then there you go. You're already pushing yourself toward doing the thing that you want to do. You know?
Oh, Christ. And I can anecdote one more time. Around December, I was feeling my motivation cooled down after I flubbed that first driving test. And I was like, okay, well, I got to practice that, get back together with that, start drawing again for, commission stuff. And then a friend of mine, that son of a bitch, got me Satisfactory. And if you're not familiar with Satisfactory, it is a factory building game where it gives you objectives to slowly increase complexity of components you build, and you try to get all of those together to build more and more stuff to build a space station. And I fell into that hard. I was finding that way more, I guess, engaging or fulfilling than actual real projects, because it felt more attainable. And then, let's see, about 60 hours in, I start to reach the end game where it starts to get really complicated shit. All the factories I built start to become less efficient. I have to get the parts from here to there, and I start to micromanage stuff. I start building blueprints of well, if I build this chunk to build this component, I can get the resources from here to there and align the outputs and efficiencies and all that. And then I'm like, well, fuck, this is too much work. You know what I want to do? I want to draw. That's so easier.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's funny. People dread boredom. They dread boredom. And I think that people don't really understand what the fuck the point of boredom is sometimes. Or rather, not the point of it. I guess what I could say is the opportunity that boredom actually creates. Boredom is something that I haven't truly experienced for a long time. I've considered things boring, but I would always fill the gap with something that I could think about or want to make or ponder or build up. And therefore, boredom isn't really a problem for me if it does occur. So you can consider boredom like the absence of whatever it is that you would hope to have. And I don't mean just flatly entertainment, because it's not always about being entertained and being made to feel good. It's generally like keeping some kind of interest. It's this kind of stimulation. Boredom can be a lack of that. But if you're given the opportunity, boredom can help you focus on what you'd rather be doing. And like Proxer just said, she was fucking playing Satisfactory, found that the compounding of the goals were becoming ridiculous, and was just like, I'd rather fucking draw, because that's what I wanted to do in the first place, It's like that. And if you realize that in those moments and not get caught up in the whole thing of, oh, but I'm going to get caught up in this, or this is going to take too long, or this is too hard. You got to untangle that web somehow, but, use that boredom. If you get hit by boredom or something else feels like it's too hard, shit, man, do the other thing you like. You won't regret it. You won't regret it.
Yeah. And art happens when the pain of not drawing becomes greater than the fear of drawing.
Yes. And let's try not to get to the pain part, because it kind of sucks to work on that too. You work. Okay, how about this? Part of the healing is, I think when you were talking about this, I know that you said something akin to you'd rather die than never be able to draw again, or something like that.
Yeah, it's just become so much ingrained in how I define myself.
Yeah. So if that's how you feel, if you feel a genuine God, man, if there's a void that can only be goddamn, if there's a void and the only way you could put up with it is by doing the thing, then you should probably do the thing. You will start to realize that the disappointments that maybe you feel, or the frustrations, mean nothing in comparison to actually dealing with that void, because voids consume, and they're bad like that. Yeah. And in terms of stuff that gets done now, I also just realized that if I want to do something, and I should just do it, which sounds very bootstrappy, but hear me out for a second. I mentioned earlier that I was saying quality be damned. So I was thinking, you know what? I have a problem with materializing environments and settings for things. I would like to do that. I would like to do that more. Oh, but they're not going to look good. Hey, what did I say to myself a while ago? That I should just do it however the fuck it looks? Yeah, fine. Even if it's very boxy looking like furniture or set pieces or something like that. I want to make something. And that's a great way to start. And that's why I feel like if people can be just assured that they can just make something, and that's good, that's also good. You can set the small goals. Remember also what Proxer said about making attainable goals. Even my therapist says, hey, remember, if you're going to do this to yourself, realize that if you're going to be turned away by the prospect of this amount or this setting or anything like that, dial it back. Because then you're going to feel like shit for not wanting to do it, or you're going to feel stressed out about doing it. And then you're not going to make any TF art. You're not gonna do anything like that. You're not going to satisfy the horny. You're not going to explore the identity. You're not going to have any fucking fun, man. You know, one of the things that I know that we talk about like horny and identity, but sometimes it's just fucking fun to do when you can like include other people in it. And it's a nice thing to see formulate in front of you. Like, oh, look at this fun thing that we did with this concept together. And it's like, this is supposed to be me and this is supposed to be you. And if you think that sounds like kid shit, get in touch with your inner child. It's starving and it's crying and it really needs some love, and maybe that's why you're so upset. Fuck, man. Thank you. So, like, yeah, I mean, healing is easier said than done sometimes, but you can do it. Don't give up on yourself with that shit.
You will always have the tools you need at the time.
Yeah, even if it's one, you got something. You'll be able to get more.
It's the Minecraft shit. You start by punching a tree, and then you build a small tool, and that small tool can build a better tool.
Yep, and then you can make a working Game Boy somehow. Man, Minecraft is...
Just start with the absolute basics, because that's what you have. You got 2 hands, you got a pencil, you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Please don't get lost in the weeds about like what you need to start, because it really is just pencil and paper. Or anything you can make a mark with on another surface.
Never give yourself an excuse not to do something.
Exactly, because if the thought lingers that I want to do this, but cut that last part out. Just
but that's taken up that creative space already. Anxiety is a waste of good imagination.
And I'm really glad that you can say stuff like this nowadays, and I'm glad that I can say some of this stuff too. And look, trust me, we're still dealing with shit.
On every day, ongoing.
Yeah, some things have gotten easier. New shit has popped up that's tough. Old things still kind of can drag us down. But I think it's good also to ask ourselves the question, which, you know, mostly directed at you, because I want to know what you think, is how you feel about your prospects with TF art or any art nowadays.
That one's trickier, because my Patreon's still on hiatus. Fortunately, that's still on the per submission thing, so no one's getting charged until I start putting stuff out.
Subscribe to our Patreon. If you're not subscribing to ours, this is one to do so. You don't know her comic works or anything like that? Holy shit. Yeah, although you should.
Patreon.com/ProxerDraws.
Fuck yeah.
So much of everything external is feeling so uncertain right now. Like, in general, everything's in flux. It messes with my brain.
Yeah.
I will always want to do more than nothing. Like you said before, I would rather die than stop making stuff. Which also comes back to the whole disposability thing. So, all the projects are still there. I'm feeling a lot better about them now, coming back to them with some, I guess, fresh eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of branching out, too. Like, I've been picking, as far as like those midterm goals I mentioned before, picking up Blender again. I've been using it because I want to do some like 3D background art as well. Just to take some time, to save some time later for backgrounds. Because I'm not that great with them. Plus, I've seen some people make some really awesome stuff like that. So I've been trying to integrate those backgrounds into commissions, as well as to finally start looking at character modeling again. Sculpting, animation stuff. Years ago, I bought this animation basics program for Blender that I didn't quite finish, and then life got in the way, and I feel like that kind of thing would definitely, like, it doesn't always have to be drawing, but I always want to be making something.
So, but like, that's all great. So, but how does it make you feel about your prospects now? Just now. Don't worry about like later, or if you think you're going to be in a better place. Like, how are you feeling about it right now?
At this current moment, which is hard to say because it varies from fucking day to day.
Well, what's today?
Yeah. Today is better than yesterday.
Good.
Which is worse than the day before, but better than the day before that.
And there you go. That's progress. So I don't know. So just I guess the way I would put it is nowadays I'm feeling like I'm getting back in touch with that version of me that would just do something because I wanted to do it. I wanted the instinctive do it because I want to attitude. I have tried to have the if I want something I'll get it attitude. And I remember I used to really work with that, and I even used to impress myself, never mind anybody else. I used to be able to very confidently say like, "Oh, I'll do it because I want to," and then that got dismantled. But I'm feeling that a bit more lately.
Well, when you're able to like look at what you have done and be like, "Oh, I just cast a spell."
Yes. And people may think of imposter syndrome or some shit like that, but really, remember, that's you. That's you doing it. Oh, it's inconsistent. Doesn't matter. You did it. You know what else? You know what else is consistent? There is a history of work that you can be happy with. That is there. That's a consistency in itself. So you can look at that and hey, oh, there's a history of work and I'm never happy with it. Well, reevaluate what you're doing so that you can change that. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about art in general these days, even though it's funny because lately I don't feel too great about my work, but for some reason I also feel better about my future with it. It's
How's
paradoxical, but say what?
How so?
I mean, I still look at my stuff and I struggle and I get taken back into the thoughts that have seeped into my head of what kind of quality I want to obtain, or how come I can't do this easily anymore, and all that kind of stuff, because that's stuff that I struggle with. And because I've been going through my own hard stuff lately, I can sink really easily into that. My brain can blindside me. But when I'm lucid, I think, you know what, I've noticed the things that are different or that I've been doing again that I miss doing, and that's good. That feels good. And it makes me wonder, not wonder, but actually, no, it does make me wonder, like, what am I going to be doing by the end of the year? What am I going to start? What am I going to be doing next year? What new thing? Will something suddenly click and I'll start incorporating this into my work and suddenly it's expanded? So that's why I feel like my art is kind of like hurting a little bit in terms of my expectations of it. But I guess I understand right now that it's temporary. So later on, I think it's going to be better.
I'm doing a solemn nod that the microphone doesn't pick up on.
One of these days, we'll hire an animator to do it, and then we'll have like all little emotes and shit like that. Man, Simpsons joke. It's like, oh, have you ever broadcast an episode live? Oh, no. It's a terrible strain on the animator's wrist. God damn.
Thought about the question about perspective TF art and stuff. I keep telling myself that I'm going to do sketch streams again, get back into just doing stuff that's fast, quick, but believing in myself that I'm not going to have some kind of disappointing people for expectation.
Oh, I see. You know what? This is also why I before like I really started to use Discord more, I was liking Picaro's multi-stream, and I fucking hate that you got to pay for it.
You do? Right now it's a premium thing, yeah.
It's been a premium thing, has it not been at some point?
I don't know.
Look. The point is, I really enjoyed multi-streaming. There were other sites that would let you do it. I think First Stream let you do it. No, there was a site that let you do it for free, but it just wasn't taking off as much. Picardo took off. And I was like, oh, the multi-streaming, and it integrates the chats and all that other shit. And that's cool. That's fun. That's great. You got to pay for it. Fuck you. Come on, man. Anyway, Like, what do you think your user base is? Give me a fucking break. Look, I think that it feels really good when you're drawing next to somebody or have somebody doing it next to you, because you can convert the feeling of being left out to me too. I want to do it too. It's good. It's art can be a very lonely thing at times, so it really helps if you can just somehow make it a joint thing between you and people that you want to.
Yeah, just scribble with each other. Shit, even one-on-one on Discord, you can just share screens with someone and both just shoot the shit and scribble nonsense. Dumb memes. Don't make it precious.
Exactly. I miss streaming sometimes too, because it also means that people can just stumble across you and be all like, oh, the fuck is this? Or, oh, that's cool. I like that. I like the discoverability thing of streaming. But it can still be kind of lonely, and if you're watching somebody else do it, then it can, like, I don't know, you just want to connect with people, especially if there's distance. Discord is fine with that, but you gotta join the Discord. You gotta join the server if you want to do that. It's fun sometimes because, like, I don't know, I think tomorrow I'm gonna try to, like, day after this recording, I'm gonna try to maybe just draw in a call for a little bit, because it's nice. It feels good. I don't know. The whole point is, there's a lot of ways to heal with art and your relationship with it, because that is the basis of transformation stuff. Hey, everybody, did you know that all this art talk is directly related to the fact that this stuff has to get made by people who would dare call themselves artists?
I did not.
Shit. Man, I'm scared. But it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry.
Expectations are scary.
Yeah. Man, speaking of potentially scary shit, there is one topic from our patrons that I wanted to at least give a little bit of time to. That is parasociality, boundary between artists and audience. I have plenty to say, but I have you here because I would like your thoughts. Got anything off the top of your head?
Oh, I am a weird person who has a weird social history where I have been terrible at making in-person friends who's never actually lasted, and yet effectively used art as a means to befriend so many of the commissioners I made starting off, who are now longtime friends.
Yeah.
So it would feel weird to, I don't know, put those barriers up now, per se. I've gotten better at, like, I don't know, differentiating work from social.
Okay, that's good. But in a way, it's that's not about parasociality so much as how you've made friends. Parasociality is just like the one-way thing. You're talking about good relationships with people that have come to you that was transactional, became more than that, which is great, because especially if you're happy with that, and good, fine. You don't always have to be friends with your customers, but what the fuck, right? But like, have you had any kind of lasting feelings, experiences, thoughts about people's perceived attitudes toward you that you've either like gotten in person or it's just like been on the wind or something like that? Even comments sometimes tell you some weird shit.
Oh god, with comments, I mean, I'm so used to seeing the "wish that were me" kind of thing. That's like the trope at this point. I don't think anyone's actually been. That's not true. People have been creepy now and then. Other person who was like, "Hey, I really enjoy your art. Here's some of the art I've drawn. I really enjoy drawing trans women, specifically that." And I'm just the kind of stuff that raises a bit of an eyebrow. Where it's like, okay, well, what is your expectation with why we're talking now?
Yeah. So wait, it's like they come at you with a sort of idea, like they maybe figure something out and they just kind of want to confirm it with you.
It's a predisposed notion, I guess, that they have a definite passion that they want to kind of apply to me.
Yes, projection. There's projection, of course, but there's also the mistake that gets made with people where they will take the vertical slice that people are allowed to see and expand that into what is supposed to be your entire personhood, which is fucking crazy to me. Is very fucking crazy to me that people would do that, and I don't know if they expect others to treat them that way, or if they think that maybe, that's how they think it's best to, figure somebody out or get to know them. But, people are going to tell you only so much as they want to. And even then, you could be as open as you want, but it's not really going to be quite the same as being around them.
Oh, and I feel I should clarify. When I say drawing trans girls, I mean, like, just drawing from images of trans girls. Like, basically just, like, doing portraiture of them.
Ah, okay.
I don't mean, like,
You don't mean like TFTG?
No. Not like that. Like, that's fine. It's good. I love that. I mean, just, like, specifically portraiture of trans girls. This is the thing. Sorry, just clarifying.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, because I guess the question is also really great to discuss with you because you have such a large following. And I mean, like, depending on what you make, how you make it, and everything like that, it is going to depend on, like, different wording. Not depend, but depending on what you make and want to make is going to set you up for what you might have to put up with. So because, for instance, I don't do the furry thing, and I don't really buy into being whatever a furry is to most people, I have very different experience, and that has to, that shows up with, like, the kind of art I make. People have notions about me that I've noticed expressed, or that they think I'm okay with drawing certain things, even though I tell them no. It's very uncomfortable. But if you seem to be like okay, if you seem to fit in, I feel like you're more likely to not have as many stories or like different ones, because it's not necessarily about creeps. It's also just about the weird perceptions that people like have imposed upon me.
Yeah, that one's tricky to say. Most of the stuff I've known personally is people who are a bit constant with their roleplay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure how much of a parasocial that is, as much as just that's how they interact with the fandom at large.
Yeah, I don't know if that is necessarily parasocial, but there could be an element of it somewhere, of course, where it's like, oh yeah, if you're making something like this, you're inviting me to do this, right? Mm-hmm. That's like a different, like, aspect of parasociality. Sometimes it doesn't really go into, like, this extreme thing of, you have a perceived relationship with somebody that you've never met and you don't really know. Sometimes it is those little things like, I'm going to RP under this picture. It's like,
Fortunately, I have been mercifully spared from that kind of thing, as far as I know. I think the most I've gotten is people doing some, like, Russian translated reposts of comics.
It's fucking cool, man. I know, I understand how it can feel not great or feel weird or uncomfortable, but it's also kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you stole this and then put time into translating it so more people can enjoy it. I have mixed feelings.
That being said, if you want to read it, you won't find it in English as easily. Haha.
Well, I mean, it goes along with the regular reposts and stuff as well.
Yeah, that's true. It's fucking difficult. Yeah.
So what's happened to you then?
Man, I remember that. God, it's been with, like, several people over the years. There was a time where I did just accept random RP requests to see where they would go. And I would do them, and I experimented and learned the things I like and the things I wasn't comfortable with, until eventually I was like, I am withholding these things for these circumstances, and the rest be damned. But I remember that for a long time, that years or months apart, there was a specific user who has kept the same name from like Skype all the way up to Picardo, and I would stream more and more rarely on Picardo. It would end up messaging me being like, I still remember that RP that we did years ago. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like, you like it. That's dandy. And it'll be like, yeah, I would love to do it again. It was just so good. And I'm like, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to do this again.
You're a different person at that point.
Yes. Why, like, have you really not had anybody do it at least as good? I'm not going to trash myself and say I can't write for shit, but, like, come on, man. I I feel like anything I do is at least baseline thoughtful. So, come on, man. And that feels weird. I remember there was a client who referred to me as mysterious. Like, what do you mean I'm mysterious? You don't fucking know me.
Does that just mean like you don't expose all of your innermost thoughts to them?
Yeah, what do you mean I'm mysterious? Every fucking artist is pretty much mysterious. Like what? You know who I think is mysterious? Cute, sexy robots. That motherfucker doesn't say anything. I think that's pretty mysterious, but also great. I love it.
I think my barista is pretty mysterious. I don't know shit about them. They could be doing anything with that coffee. Like, that's fucking fine. There's lots of... You don't have to know everything.
Yeah, so I don't know what the expectation there is that suddenly makes me worthy of being referred to as mysterious, but, you know. I mean, at least call me evasive. That would at least imply a characteristic about me that you've observed. But yeah, mysterious. I've been called mysterious. Yeah, I have just had people get pissed off at me, and they hate me, and they say things, and I'm like I've become like one of the worst people in the fandom to a few people, which is kind of like That's wild, man. I know some real fucking dirtbags, but I guess I'm an easy one to pick out. Let's see, what else? I remember mentioning shitty comments and everything like that, but there were a few that really tried to dig into me as if they had something, and it's one of the reasons that I don't post anything other than transformation art or kink stuff or anything to FA anymore. Which I've kind of reconsidered on that, but also I still feel like it's a waste of time. I posted like an old story idea. I painted up a thing. I was happy with it. And I'm like, I'm going to write a little story blurb in it. And I got a note from somebody who tried to, I shit you not, say, oh, so this is the point in the story where this happens, that happens, and all these events fall into place for this to be the outcome. Didn't I get it right? I'm like, who the fuck are you? Also, no.
Good job, you won the story?
No, you lost. Also, who the fuck are you?
Like, well, why did you feel the need to tell me this?
Well, yeah, that's the thing that parasociality has bred, is that people will feel the need to tell me something, and then when I ask them, like, why did you say this? What's the point? They'll just be like, oh, I just wanted to say it. You can just disregard it. No, fuck you, man. If you're taking the time to express something, you want to be heard. And you want an outcome. You want it to be considered. Don't fucking waste my time or yours or insult my intelligence or anybody's intelligence by saying, oh, you could just ignore it. Of course I can ignore it. But I'm here listening to you. You're going to fucking tell me why you got my attention now, because now I'm pissed off.
My attention, motherfucker.
Yeah, you thought you wanted it, but you don't. It's fucking crazy. The other example that I will bring up again, because I can't get over it, an old sequence, an owl transformation. I wanted to incorporate neck turning in a weird way that just make it like oh, you know, turn into an owl, but I want to see that head turn at a weird part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got told, like, oh, you did this for shock value. You did this for this. It is otherwise good, but this and that. I'm like, go fuck yourself, dude. I just wanted to include that because I thought it would be nice because I don't see it.
The owl's got
like,
crazy neck.
Yeah, but it's just like, oh, this is why you did this. Like, what? Who are you? Also, no.
No, wait. Also, yes, because I wanted to see a neck, and therefore I did neck.
Yeah, but there's like this whole assertion that I did it for shock value because I wanted to like who the fuck do you think I'm trying to be? Howard Stern with this sequence?
Well, maybe not shock, but evoke. Ah.
Oh, I've evoked, but maybe they'll want to split hairs on that, or feathers, I guess. Okay. Oh, I think that was another thing that they said. It was something like, it's too early in the sequence, which means the only reason you did it was because of blah, 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 blah. Like, holy shit. Shut the fuck up, man.
Actually, early in the sequence, it would make perfect sense if the internals are the ones to change first, and then the bone structure and the muscles and the head goes all the way.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Please show me how it works. I want to see.
Yeah, you draw it.
No, in real life. Because clearly they know. They're an asshole or a wizard.
Yeah, I just... that's... You know, like The Exorcist, but without the demon. Just turn it around, man. Show me. When is it appropriate? Fuck you, dude. Fuck you still. Unless you want to apologize, then we can be okay. I will accept apologies. let me see. There was that. There was people got. Oh God, this is one of the reasons that I really started to draw the line on drawing anything remotely feral, because when people would commission me, they'd be like, "Oh yes, I like this thing, and put this on center stage with like the dripping this or the turgid that," and I'm just like, that I don't really want to see that. That's not my aim. I may include this, but also, I mean, it's mid-change, and you're making me just apply this, and I kind of don't want to. And I don't know. It's just
the goals feel different.
Yeah, the goals feel different. Look, I've made this point before. If you are drawing some feral shit, and some stuff is going on with it, then what you're presenting is really what's going to imply like what you're looking for to me. So like if you are, it's why I think I'm just gonna piss some people off. It's why I don't like it when I see something like a transformation pic that is just the rear end of a horse. Like, oh, they were a human once. I'm like, come on, please.
I think I know exactly who you're talking about.
I'm sorry, but that's like a few fucking people by now, man. It's just the thing that they do. It gets done with like a bunch of kinds of animals, and like, oh, this is transformation. Yes, and I feel like you are communicating a particular aspect of this that I do not, that people would assert on me, because I have some overlap in that. For anybody who's seen enough of my shit can see some overlap in, but I'm not into that, and people would just assume like, yeah, that's a thing. You'd like that. Aren't you interested in that? It would look so good in your style. Like, what, man?
I feel like that same kind of thing is done with other artists who don't do TF, but the commissioner really wants them to do it, so it becomes very implied and really skirts what the artist is comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. They'll do that stuff. They'll push the boundaries and the limits, and sometimes they'll do it periodically. Be like, hey, you changed your mind yet? If I ever do, I'm never going to fucking do it for you, right? Never. Ever. God, yeah, so many fucking stories and instances. I could just rant about this for a while, but yeah, people just make these assumptions about me, and they just, they come to me with like, with an impression of me that doesn't really exist. I guess the last one I'll fucking put up and because I want to make sure that this is a very well-rounded thing of parasociality, is when somebody wants to show something to me, but then they have to preface it with, it doesn't have TF in it. Now, a lot of people do this, but some people seem to come at it with a more measured approach, like, well, I don't want to talk to you about something that will bore you. You don't know if this is going to bore me. Why do you think that?
Yeah, I mean, if you have only one thing going on that you can't possibly consider any other thing outside that sphere to be interesting.
Yeah, and also let my behavior and my reaction to it gauge whether or not I seem to be interested or uninterested in it. You have to like see, like, because yeah, my FA gallery very focused on certain things, but are you gonna really flatten me like that? Come on. It'd be like if I was talking to you. I'm like, well, I want to show you this thing, but I assure you there are no bird or bird-like focuses in this media. Okay, just letting you know. And there are no birds with titties and no birds called boobies. There's none of that.
Oh.
I know that. I know. I'm sorry. I hope you can listen to me a little bit about this, maybe.
Tangent though, if you haven't watched the movie Flow, I highly recommend that. There's a secretary bird in it, and also probably a lot of various themes of Tibetan Buddhism.
Oh, yeah, show me that. I never heard of it.
It's not what I thought it was, and it's French. There's no dialogue. It's all done through characters. There's a cat, a secretary bird, a capybara, a lemur, and a dog on a boat.
Cool. I got no real expectations. I am down to check that shit out. I mean, I love it. I love it when a movie just comes at me with like a setting or a premise like that. I'm like, let me just put it together. Don't tell me anything else.
It will give you more than what you thought you were coming in for.
Fine. I love it. I love it. Please surprise me. Surprise me with things. I like many things. So yeah, parasociality, it's kind of a fucking blight, and it's something that I think also can contribute to all the stuff that we were talking about before. The relationship with art, what you're expected to do, blah, blah, blah. You know, all themes, all these things, they come together. So it's so good. It's so
like
good
poetry.
to be aware.
It rhymes.
Yeah. It rhymes. Damn, man. What a scene. What a scene. To think that was that's a real human being out there. I wonder what the fuck he's been doing. If he's been doing anything,
What,
George Lucas.
Yeah. I think I saw him like have a director's credit on something. Or
Yeah,
producer's
man.
credit, rather.
I don't know. Like, I wonder. But I just wonder if, like, not necessarily like media or like making movies, but like, I don't know, anything. You know, like Jim Carrey and Jim Carrey paints, you know?
Or Harry Tate.
Yeah.
Who he's I didn't know he did such amazing caricature. Or sorry, portraiture. Apparently, he is an actor, a football player, and does portraiture very well.
Yeah. He's just fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
But we only know him for his acting presence, maybe his football presence on like Brooklyn Nine-Nine and such, and then it's like, no, he's a human being with actual depth. How's that for parasocial?
Exactly.
You don't know him.
Yeah, exactly. All that shit. Terry Crews is a wonderful example of how parasociality
not Terry
can
Tate. Who the fuck's Terry Tate?
I don't know.
Terry Crews, Hold on, am I fucking stupid here?
Okay, wait. Now your call cut out in such a way where I thought you said Crews. So I'm glad I said Terry Crews. Yes, Terry Crews was a former football player. Obviously, you know, as the Old Spice guy into this, the Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and all these other things. He's got a very particular kind of presence that he brings to a lot of roles. But he is a phenomenal painter.
Yes, Terry Crews. I was confused with Terry Tate office linebacker commercial from like 2003.
Okay, yeah. Well, that makes sense. At least the mix-up is completely sensible. Still, yeah, I mean, if you look at that guy, it's just like, oh, he's just this big muscle-bound guy, and he screams, and I guess it's funny sometimes. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Shut up. Shut the fuck up and listen, or if you're going to say anything, let it be a question and take the answers, take the answers in.
Yeah, let yourself be surprised.
Yeah. And this is not really a surprise, but audience questions time.
Yay!
Yeah, although maybe the audience themselves will be surprised to like what could come up. So we're gonna start with the first one from Ski Sharp. Yay! Yeah, come on, listen, grow and change with us. See, I did the thing. This first one is from Ski Sharp, which asks, what are some websites that you posted to or checked for TF that you no longer post or check regularly to?
I have only one. As it used to be Newgrounds, then Newgrounds got cool again, and I started posting there again. But the only one that I have actually given up on, that, because I post through Postyverb a lot, just to make things easier, I'm just like throwing things out there. But ever since I got a bunch of stuff taken down from Ink Bunny, and it wasn't for anything about furry characters, it was the fact that since, drawing TF, you'll have the human, and you'll have the creature, or anthro, or animal, or whatever. And they have a no humans policy, explicitly. So all the stuff that were patched to the point of human was fine, but all the stuff, anything featuring human, not even lewd, any human, that's against the terms of service. And I got to thinking, well, why would that be? And then I was like, oh, you see a lot of like cub stuff, underage characters on there. They're all furry, so you can blur that line. But if you have, let's say, a human, it's bad. So I guess
suddenly that makes it a little too real, huh?
Yeah, so nip that in the bud. So I'm not posting there anymore.
Yeah, your little kid porn feed needs to stay ambiguous and plausible deniability. It's not real. They're just animals. Plus, they're animals. Like, yes, I'm glad to know that anything resembling a tiger cub you find possibly fuckable. That's fine. Where's the mother? She should do something about that.
Always remember the Harkness test.
Fucking hell, man. It's That's disgusting. But yeah, I can see why you would easily give up on that. And also, I never wanted to post there because I heard about that reputation. And since that's so strictly enforced, I also really wouldn't want to bother with something that is so narrow. Like, this is like only for furries. Like, okay, good. Very inclusive. Very, very inclusive. You guys are great. Fuck you. Sites that I no longer post to, I was posting the Weasel for a while, but, I stopped posting the Weasel. Transfer, I stopped posting to. Remember, I used to share some stuff on the Process forums. I don't ever want to go back there.
Oh, did it change in the bad way?
Well, the Process forums were never good.
Oh.
If you thought they were good, I'm sorry. I don't think they were, ever. The discussions there always derailed into some fucking nonsense. I can't imagine what kind of psychosis has gripped people who still use it there, especially since they had like the really weird I don't know what kind of bigotry this falls into. Yeah, you like posting anything that featured males or men or anything like that. That had to be in its own little section, but everything else could only be like women, females, and shit like that.
Ah, very telling.
Yes, very telling. So, like, if you wanted to find anything with guys transforming, that had to be in a very particular section over there. But
Because
otherwise, it's got to all be chicks. Because you might see a dick, and I think that's really fucking
and that's
weak.
Gay.
Yeah.
Isn't it
You're
gay to jerk off because you're testing a dick?
Fellas, is it gay to breathe air? That air has been in another guy's mouth. Fellas, is it gay to eat food? Fellas, there's a whole video with that. It's fucking wonderful. He was just pissing off an entire, like, the Call of Duty lobby with that shit. Like, fellas, is it gay to drink water? And they were just like, shut up. It's like, is it gay? Fucking amazing shit. But yeah, like, there's a bunch of sites like that. So yeah. Process, Transfer, Weasel,
Twitter.
Haha. Yeah, Twitter. There's a thing that I heard also, which I kind of struggle with because it's kind of like a paradox. And like, how do I feel? Calling it Twitter is defiant, and I like doing that. But also, Twitter is long dead, so it doesn't exist. So calling it X makes a lot of sense because it's a Nazi site. Like, we would post to Twitter, but not X. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do I conceptualize that? But you make the best choice you can, which is also not posting to Twitter. And if you are posting to Twitter, don't worry. You might get afforded some slack. Maybe that really is part of your living. Maybe you are getting something else out of it. But if you have the choice, please, he's a Nazi and he's already couped the American government. I'm hoping that this shit collapses. Oh my god, I brought politics back. How scary. Don't worry. Real life is scarier than the words I just used. So, prepare yourselves for that. Get to know some people.
There's a wonderful extension for Chrome and Firefox that lets you migrate your followers to Blue Sky.
Oh, was it called like Skybridge or something like that?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm at... Yeah, it's
not
just
perfect,
good.
And there are some people who have kind of reclaimed other people's accounts, so it's not super accurate, but you can filter through those as you go. It's to get the lion's share. So you're not starting off blind, but it's not like starting from zero with a whole new platform.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Process forums, they've always been bad, and then one day I was just like, fuck that, fuck this shit, I hate it. Transfer for a while was really cool because I felt like I made it into the cool kids club because I fucking had my application accepted when they were actually doing that shit. And I was just like, oh, I'm good enough, so I'm going to post here next to the artists that I think are fucking awesome and way better than me and that I'm never going to be, anywhere near as good as. And yeah, some of the comments that I've gotten that really made me feel like shit have come largely from there. I just want to say that too. I think
Transfer is the place where all artists will eventually start and probably eventually outgrow.
Yeah. It's a shame, though. There is a charm to it. And I do like the focus on transformation and how they do the thing or whatever and blah, blah. Like, it's nice. But there's a lot to be desired after a while, especially with the fucking people that were there. God, I hate them so much. Anyway, yeah. And Weasel, there isn't really anything wrong with Weasel. It's just like there isn't too much going on there. And
it was also... That's all it was.
And also, like, it just took extra time to put things there. I like a lot of the ideas that they had. I like that they integrated stream notifications into like people's inboxes. I don't know if you knew that.
I know, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, they have a thing that I wish other websites would do, especially FA. You could enter your stream key, and if you were streaming, it'll show up in your inbox as like its own category, like streams. Like so and so is now streaming, and click the hyperlink, take you to wherever it is that they're streaming, as long as it was compatible with whatever the fuck they were doing.
That sounds ideal.
Yeah, and even further than that, and I think this is another great thing, if you don't follow them, but you go to the home page, the front page of their gallery, there will be a little icon that will be on or off, a little on-air light, so to speak. So that so you're just like, oh, they're live right now, and I've never seen this artist before. Let me go there.
Oh yeah. I mean, so often I'll see people post like I'm streaming from this time to this time, or they'll just have a general post saying I'm streaming, and then you'll check it, and it's like, oh, 3 hours ago, are they still streaming? Do I care? But to see them actually actively online or not, with just right there, currently online, that would probably get you like another couple dozen people.
Yeah, and just increase the odds for people who maybe you want to see more often actually come around and interact with you. It's just Weasel has very good ideas. I just wish that the submission process was a little streamlined and that people actually went and actually shared their shit there more. Because the other thing I like about Weasel is that it was very good about multimedia. Like, I remember actually sharing some comments with the one who made the soundtrack for Freedom Planet, an indie game. I don't know if anybody's heard of Freedom Planet.
Oh, yes, that's the Sonic-like.
Yeah, the Sonic-like that became its own thing. I actually spoke with the person who fucking made the music for that likes my stuff. I don't know what happened to them, but they were on Weasel.
Well, they had a bunch of like other. I know there was Freedom Planet 2. I don't know if they had another thing after that, but I assume it was successful enough to warrant more work from them.
Maybe. Anyway, like, all I'm saying is Weasel, I think, was really good for a creative site in general. If FA wasn't so much of a fucking furry zeitgeist, like popular internet zeitgeist in general, it would be great to see Weasel actually still get like a resurgence or like real life. I think it's a pretty decently run site, at least like the terms of service. So far it hasn't alerted to any like sketchy red flag type of shit. I mean, they haven't really come into any sort of thing. Just to wrap it up, yeah, those are the sites I don't really post to anymore. Moving on to the next question. Man, we both have a lot of history with this shit. Next question is from Other Side, who asks, what is one of your flaws in making art? TF or not? A flaw that you feel comfortable talking about?
Very broad.
Yeah.
I'll start. I just care too much.
That is a problem. That is a problem because you're like, oh man, this is not good enough, and I'll come and look at this and be like, wow.
Or the thought of like, am I trying too hard or not trying hard enough?
And if you're trying too hard, well then maybe you're doing it wrong.
It's like, can I get simpler, but also I want to integrate all of these other things that I've seen other artists do.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Yeah, like let's see. For me, one of my flaws is getting lost in the details, and I sort of overwhelm myself and get frustrated with the process of making art. And this is a general thing. So yeah, it can be a thing where I lose track of how to construct something that I have otherwise done a bunch of times, and therefore it becomes just more painful than like a thing to enjoy or a goal to meet, and that sucks. And I've been working on that, but it got a little tough, but it's getting better. It's getting better each time.
Yeah, I can definitely sympathize with that, where you'll have a sketch that is all super clean and super nice and detailed, and I love robots and tech and all that, and then when it comes to inking and such, it's like I have dug my own grave.
Well, I will ask you this question because I ask it to myself to make sure that I stay satisfied with what the fuck this thing I'm doing is to me. Do you have to ink it? Do you have to? Do you have to? Do you really want to?
Okay, that's the hard part, because that comes down to, am I making this too simple? Am I making this too complex?
Yeah. So then start asking, what the fuck do you want out of this? And if you're like, nah, I'm fine with this, then leave it the fuck alone.
If it's a commission, and I've seen some other.
Well, we're not talking about
too.
commissions, I feel. Unless, I don't know. Sorry. Go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt then.
Think of other methods for making complex things simpler, where it's, maybe don't ink it, but imply it more with shading. That after the fact, do the broad outside, and then get in there later.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So, yeah, I mean, is that the one that you feel like that's one of the flaws that you feel you get caught up in the details as well, or do you feel like you have something a little more distinct from like the shit that I just mentioned?
No, I think mine is definitely not being sure if I'm trying too hard or not hard enough.
Okay.
Again, because I can get a lot done fast if I'm not trying super hard, but also I want to try hard because there's this unknown goalpost.
Yeah, we talked about that. Don't worry, everybody. We'll work on it.
It's the process.
Exactly. The process is painful, but, it's very moany, and we like that. And the last question is from Max Velocity. What, did you want to talk about Moni Crackly Sensation? I saw that look you made.
I was going to say keep a safe word if you're drawing.
No. Anyway, Next question is from Max Velocity, and this one's an interesting piece because didn't know this word before. Ataxia is the loss of the ability to coordinate your muscle movements. In the real world, it's obviously hellish, but what are your thoughts on ataxia as a consequence of TF?
Now, if it was a consequence of, like, you just turn into, like, a jellyfish, where, like, you have no real autonomous functions, then, yeah, that's probably some, like, hellish result. Maybe like some kind of punishment thing. But if it's just like, oh no, my muscles and joints are no longer like of proportion, if they have like no fine motor control because it's all the broad, strong muscle forms now, then yeah, that can. I've always liked the adaptation when it comes to the TF part.
Yeah, and that leans into the, oh my god, aptophilia, I think it was. That whole like, oh no, like strange body parts suddenly, or I forgot. Whatever, I'm not going to look it up right now. Everybody can get upset that I forgot about the word. It's not my thing. I'll look it up later. So the structure of the question was a little confusing to me. So the way I was thinking of it was the consequence of transformation, and I was thinking about the journey to the other form. And I think it can be really scary to be trapped in a body that, like, I say like, oh, the writhing and the this and the that. It can be cool, or it can be attractive, or it can be whatever. But, it can be really fucking terrifying that you're just stuck in that way, not being able to do anything about it. Which, like, okay, if you want to think of like the tropey transformation scenes in a lot of media, it's, somebody is changing into something else, and everybody's standing around and watching and not really doing anything. Sometimes that makes sense. Sometimes I wonder why they're doing it, because by now they should be used to it, right? And they should be able to act on it, especially if it's dangerous. So, like, don't do it, and I just think of, like, in terms of, like, horror, both as, like, a potential threat to you or you being in that situation, it's vulnerability. And I think that is one of the reasons that I consider transformation to be a very intimate thing, and it's one of the ways that I like to portray it as an attractive experience, is that you're going to be busy changing. You're not going to be in full control of yourself. At least that's how I would idealize it in some ways. You're not going to be in full control. Like, maybe you would be, like, in a certain position, but the most you could do is kind of, like, hold that position until it's over, if you don't just fall down or something. There's lots of possibilities that you could get into, but that's what I think of. And I think of, like, the process being something that, you have to commit to the experience of, and maybe you'll fall in and out of control. Parts of you will fall in and out of control. Maybe you just won't be able to do anything at all. And I just think of vulnerability, and it can lead to all kinds of, like, tones and scenarios that can either be very loving, very warm, very scary, very it's. I think it's a pretty good concept to explore, but it really matters as to like when you want to apply it.
Yeah, and you mentioned people like standing around looking and like watching, like that got me thinking. Like, I don't think I've ever seen much in where people intervene.
Yeah,
Like, there's always bystanders, but there's no like, oh my god, that person is absolutely in a bad way. I know CPR.
yeah. You would think that if it's just like, oh my god, it sounded like they fucking broke some ribs. Oh shit, maybe they have whatever. Maybe the chest is collapsed. I should have like, oh whoops, why the fuck is the face pushing out against me? Whoa, what the fuck is going on?
Or maybe it's a known factor in this world.
Yeah, maybe you got to do some of that seizure shit where you got to like, lay them on their side.
Get the belt buckle off.
Yeah, little things like that. So, yeah, I mean, ataxia has a lot of potential if you want to explore it mindfully. But I don't know how you wanted this question answered, but we gave you two different like sets of answers for it. Yeah, so that was all the audience questions. I don't know, anything you've been pondering throughout this fucking interview for us to chew over before we cut out?
How long have we been going now?
Yeah, it's been about 2 hours.
It's very important to give yourself a third space when you're at work or at home. Be somewhere else so you can have a time to enjoy being here or there, or third place.
Yeah, third place is very important.
Let those ideas percolate. You can get back to the place and not feel resentful of having to be in it as you make stuff.
Yeah, I like that. I like the way that's worded. Take it to heart. And fine, fuck it. It wasn't a question. Just like next week, there will be another episode. I don't really question that. That's something that we strive to do. And we're doing a pretty good job so far. Mm-hmm. In fact, there's a secret goal post that I really intend to meet. And don't worry, I will let people know when it happens because I actually put it on the calendar. What is it? Don't worry, it's very, very fucking petty, but I want to do it.
Petty for a person or petty for selfish reasons?
Petty toward a specific comment that was made somewhere that somebody thought we wouldn't see, but fuck you. And yeah,
you have his attention.
And you didn't want it. Don't worry, man. It's okay. I can be mad at something, but that doesn't mean I feel I've lost. You don't get that much consideration. That being said, again, thank you so much for coming on. Shout your socials out again, please.
My pleasure. You can find my Patreon at patreon.com/ProxerDraws. I am also at ProxerDraws on Blue Sky, just Proxer on FA, and I believe every other art set of note between Furry Network, Weasel, Newgrounds, etc.
Awesome. And hey, look, man, I know that like she likes some hot machines, but she's not actually a machine. Maybe one day, but not now. But it would be great if you could be around for when she next shares her stuff, because it's going to be cool. Mm-hmm. And there's no need to feel any pressure about that, because what you make is just the way it is. What you do is what people want to see. And your thoughts are something that we wanted to hear. And if you're not listening to this show, get people listening to it. Please do it, because why the fuck not when Andrew Tate gets an audience and we don't? Fuck that. Yeah, it's free, and you could choose to give like a little bit every month. If you're not going to join her Patreon or Honey Bear's Patreon or fucking like whatever, join ours. Pick something. Support the fucking community, guys.
We all need to support each other. Come on.
You've made worse decisions, meaning that this one will be over the boundary of worse into good.
This is the worst decision you've made today.
Fuck yes. Thank you. The royalty speaks. All right, everybody. Thank you again very much for listening. We will be seeing you next week. Zill should be coming back unless, I don't know, something happens that isn't catastrophic but prevents recording. Huh?
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. But don't worry, I'll do my best to keep this show going.
Right on.
That being said, have a good one. Don't be so afraid of the dark. You can use it to your advantage. See you later.
Bye.